Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Micah Parsons still waiting to get paid as the second phase of training camp kicks off for the Cowboys. Also, the Mets are back in the NL East lead, and Tua Tagovailoa is trying to hold his wide receiver one accountable, but is going about it in the wrong way.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Dallas Cowboys are back at practice, and in some ways they never left because they've had some issues over the last couple of years getting contracts done with their superstar players. Micah Parsons, not happy that he does not have an extension right now. Jerry Jones, nonplussed in some ways and very annoyed in other ways. It's hard to make heads or tails of anything Jerry Jones says these days. Landon McCool is our resident Jerry Jones translator here from Locked On Cowboys. So maybe we're all in trouble, Landon, but what's the latest here in Dallas?
The latest is that there's not much to report. There's obviously lots to report, always, constantly. Right. But as far as substance or ink on paper or anything like that, no, there's nothing there. I mean, I think for most in Cowboys land, it's basically just going to be it'll get done when it gets done. I mean, for us, we've heard that the parameters of the deal have been kind of figured out between Jerry and Micah, months ago. And that literally this is a holdup between Jerry or Steven or Adam or whoever the person who is in charge of calling Micah Parsons' agent to get the deal done, to pick up the phone and get the deal done. So, I think all sides are pointing to the other side as like, hey, why don't you guys call us? And so it doesn't feel like too serious of a holdout. I think that's the difference between the tenor and like this season versus CeeDee Lamb's holdout last season, or even Dak's situation, even though Dak didn't hold out. It just feels less contentious. It felt like the contentiousness maybe have ramped up a little bit in the last few days with some of the kind of comments and the sort of intentionally misread ire between these two. Yeah. But at the truth of the matter is, social media
posts with likes and retweets, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and look, I certainly think that Jerry is so very good at being intentionally misunderstood. And so in such a way that it gets in the news and that everyone's talking about it. So I certainly think, do I believe that Micah Parsons is going to be a Dallas Cowboy for the long term? Yes, I do. Do I think the deal is going to get done in the next 2 to 3 weeks? Yeah, I really do. Do I think that there's going to be a lot of very worthy ink about this story, and Jerry is going to milk it for every single headline that he can? Buddy, this is the Dallas Cowboys. Absolutely.
All right. So same old Cowboys, as far as that's concerned. They would very much like for it not to be the same old Cowboys on the field. Mike McCarthy is out. Brian Schottenheimer is in. George Pickens also in. Running back is, I guess we'll see. So what is going to be new and different about this Cowboys team that we should have our eye on when we're looking at training camp reports, preseason games, that kind of thing?
It's funny. I just tweeted it. It's small things, but it's a ton of small things, right? Like, there's been obviously the kind of media talk has been about the energy, about the change of the energy around this. And listen, you cover a team that got rid of Mike McCarthy at some point and got all the media reports about all the increased energy in practice with the new young coach. So sometimes it's hard to know, is it just a team recovering from Mike McCarthy hangover, or is it a situation where this is a real thing? And I'm here to tell you that it's a real thing. Like, today was my first day at practice, where the pads are on. And I've been to training camp for, I think, at least 4 Dallas Cowboys head coaches at this point, and none of them come close in just the constant raw, like, upbeat energy coming from not just from the players, but from the coaches. And there's constantly music playing, not just like here and there, like everyone's kind of moving around, dancing. It's like there is an energy, I guess is the best word. And it's funny because I was skeptical on the outside. You get there, you see it, you see how people are reacting to it, you see how the coaches are acting. It's very much more of a college atmosphere than I've seen around the Dallas Cowboys in a long time.
The question, I guess, is does it matter? And we probably won't know that answer until well into the season. Probably take 8 or 10. Well, I mean, I guess we'll know right away if they stink. If they go 0-4 or something right away, we'll go, okay, I guess it didn't work.
They've got a tough schedule very early, so they're going to play. They play the Super Bowl champs coming up week 1. So they get a pretty decent litmus test right away to see if this kind of culture change actually has an effect on the field. It's easy for us to praise Schottenheimer and what he's done with this group, but yeah, I mean, results are ultimately what this is about, and we haven't seen any of that yet.
You can stay up to date all year on the Dallas Cowboys by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Cowboys on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. You're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Mets are on top of the NL East. Before we get to that, the Bengals finally signed Shamar Stewart. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with killer last-minute deals. Tired of endless scrolling, trying to find the best deal? Game Time Zone Deal picks the best seats in your section for you. And with Game Time, the price you see is the price you pay. No hidden fees. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed. The Cincinnati Bengals finally signed rookie Shamar Stewart after months of back and forth negotiations.
$500,000, James, gets this deal over the finish line. The Bengals get the language they're looking for. Shamar Stewart and Zach Hiller, his agent, get a small, and I want to emphasize small from my perspective, concession from the Bengals to get the deal done. But more importantly, and most importantly, we can put this behind us and look forward to seeing Shamar Stewart on the practice field.
I think that's my first reaction is fans. All right, now it's time to give Shamar Stewart a chance, put the business side aside and what, no matter what you think, because I get it. Like, and I'm not saying I necessarily agree or disagree with this, but there are plenty of fans that are just completely out on Shamar, and it's because of his camp. Right. And it's because of how they handled this. And it's going to be because of when we break down the small little concession the Bengals made to get this over the finish line. And over the past few weeks, especially, I've really tried to chat with NFL folks to see, like, hey, should this be a holdup? And the answer is no. The default language shouldn't have been a holdup that forced him to hold out.
Shedeur Sanders is impressing for the Cleveland Browns.
Day 4 of Browns training camp in the books, and today was the day. Today we finally had a chance to see some touchdowns thrown during the red zone drills, as Flacco had one, Pickett had one. Flacco almost had a second one, but it was dropped in the back of the end zone by Jerry Jeudy on a nice, it was maybe a little high and out of reach for Jerry, but one that he probably would tell you he should have brought in. The rotation today, they started with a full field 11 on 11s, and that was Pickett to then Shedeur with the 2s. And Shedeur actually had a really nice play on that one, maybe the play of the day, arguably the play of the day, where he found Luke Floria on sort of this crossing route across the field for 6, caught it, took it upfield for a touchdown as he beat the defender. Nice ball there, nice movement in the pocket from Shedeur on the play. Dylan Gabriel was the only quarterback, like I said, that didn't throw a red zone touchdown during red zone drills, but he got his fair share of reps today. He was second up in the split field red zone that they did, where Shedeur was on one field by himself and the other 3 quarterbacks were on the same field. That one went Pickett to Gabriel, and then they followed it up with Gabriel back to Pickett in sort of the second round of those. So once they sort of brought the whole team back together. So defense still active, still making some plays, a number of passes broken up today as well. And so I still would say the defense tends to be in front of the offense at this point, or ahead of the offense at this point. But a better day on the offensive side as you actually saw some plays that we can highlight in the next episode of the Locked On Browns podcast. Talk to you soon.
Over on the diamond, the Yankees top the Phils.
4-3 victory for the Yankees as they salvaged the final game of the series against the Phillies, which wound up not being the storyline. I'm Brian McKeon from Locked On Yankees. Now, they lost the series to the Phillies, but it's the same weekend they acquire Ryan McMahon from the Rockies, along with Ahmed Rosario. Now, McMahon flashed the glove, had 2 RBIs over the weekend, a really nice double and 2 hits in Sunday's game, and we're just looking to see if he can get in with the team. It's likely that Rosario's going to play third base on the days that the Yankees face a lefty, and McMahon will face righties more often than not. A great glove, a huge improvement from what they had at third base prior. Looking to build some confidence going forward. Yankees have a tough schedule coming up, and then it gets a lot easier throughout the year. We'll talk about all of it this week on Locked On Yankees.
And the Tigers blasted the Blue Jays.
It's baseball. It happens, but it definitely was not that fun today as the Toronto Blue Jays do lose to the Detroit Tigers 10-4 in the last game of the series. But how are you supposed to be mad at this baseball team after this All-Star break? They played the Giants, the Yankees, and now the Detroit Tigers, and they went 8-2. In this game, you didn't really have the offense. Jack Flaherty was able to spin the baseball very well against the Toronto Blue Jays. He's a pitcher that has had the pedigree, has had a very good career. Sometimes you're going to run into a pitcher that's hot, and that's what happened in this game. And then we had a bullpen blow-up. The Linsanity run for Chad Green is over. You don't want this guy throwing any sort of leverage. Justin Brule probably shouldn't be on this team after this trade deadline, but that's a nice thing for this Blue Jays ball club is they're going to be aggressive buyers, and they will add a high leverage bullpen arm to this roster. Max Scherzer went 7 innings in the year of 2025. A very good outing from Scherzer, really, other than that pitch to Gleyber Torres. Definitely wants that one back. But 7 innings, 96 pitches thrown, 11 strikeouts for Max Scherzer, first time since 2023. Starting rotation's looking better and better by the week. This guy's absolutely insane. He leads the major leagues in average with runners in scoring position, is second in the major leagues in hits, and is going to be first as Aaron Judge has now hit the IL. Easiest bounce back candidate of all time. So fun watching this guy play baseball. It definitely sucks to lose, but how are you supposed to be mad at this baseball team? They are first in all of MLB. This team's an absolute wagon. Let's continue on the good vibes against the Baltimore Orioles.
The Mets are back on top of the NL East. Locked On Mets host Ryan Finkelstein celebrated New York's recent surge back to the top of the division over the Phillies.
Well, the Mets had another great game on Sunday night. If there's one player to talk about from this game, it is Ronnie Mauricio. What an unbelievable performance as Mauricio has the first 4-hit game of his career, 4 for 4 with a couple of doubles and a home run into McCovey Cove. Just an absolute outburst by Mauricio. And it's very interestingly timed as we are within a week of the trade deadline. The trade deadline is coming, let's see, what's it going to be on Thursday? So there is how many hours left? I mean, we're within what, 80 hours of the deadline? I don't even know exactly how many hours we are away, but it's getting closer and closer and closer. And Ronnie Mauricio is a guy who will be in trade talks. I mean, some idiots out there were campaigning for Mauricio to get traded. If you're not watching on YouTube to see the gag I'm doing, I'm pointing to myself because I did a podcast before I went on my vacation where I talked about how Ronnie Mauricio could be the piece that saves the farm for the New York Mets at this deadline. Because I still stand by the general premise that Mauricio has more trade value right now than Brett Beatty, than Mark Vientos, than Luis Angel Acuna, because there is so much to dream on with Ronnie Mauricio. But I think the Mets should do the dreaming and hang on to him, and that's how I've sort of changed my tune this week, because the more I think about it, it just doesn't make sense to trade any of these young guys. We'll be talking about that more in the next segment as Mark Vientos had his name swirling in trade rumors and all over the place on social media on Sunday. So we'll talk about that in the next segment. But for Mauricio, at a time where he absolutely could be moved, he put together an effort that has to make the Mets think twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times over about even considering trading him because he looks like a star. I mean, this was a superstar type performance. And I've talked about Ronnie Mauricio for years now, and he was always the prospect of this group that I did not like because the numbers were nowhere near the production that the Mets were getting in the minor leagues from Alvarez and Beatty and even Vientos. Those guys were having better seasons offensively, and I just didn't know if Mauricio was going to be able to cut on the chase, cut on the poor swing decisions. But he has improved dramatically in a short time here in the big leagues, and he's controlling the strike zone well. And so now all of a sudden you're looking at a guy who can still play shortstop, and I think other teams would probably plug him in as their starting shortstop tomorrow if they traded for him. But for the Mets, he could be your third baseman of the future. And maybe Brett Beatty's your second baseman of the future. Not necessarily the spots we even envisioned for either of them, but the infield that the Mets went out there with this game, that might be where the Mets go, and it certainly could be the best lineup for the Mets moving forward with Jeff McNeil in center field. I mean, it really has been incredible to see the length of this lineup when these young guys are rolling. And in this game, it was Francisco Alvarez and Ronnie Mauricio that started the first couple rallies that resulted in some runs. The third inning, Francisco Alvarez gets a leadoff single. Mauricio gets a base hit after him. You then have just some ground balls in the infield that result in a run. Brandon Nimmo hits a would-be double play ball, but he beats it out. So that was a good hustle by Nimmo to get out of that double play, which set up an opportunity with one out for Lindor to hit a chopper in the infield and for Alvarez to score. Also, just no chance to turn two on Lindor's ground out. So that's how the Mets get their first run. Matt Chapman ties the game in the fourth inning with a solo homer, and then he grabbed the lead. Actually, the Mets were able to grab the lead back in the top of the fifth inning as they had a pair of doubles by Francisco Alvarez and Ronnie Mauricio. That was that other rally. But then you had Chapman go yard again, and he put the Giants up. So a lot of back and forth in this game. And the Giants held that 3-2 lead until the seventh inning when Mauricio led off with that home run to McCovey Cove, an absolute blast. Anything that gets into McCovey Cove is a blast. And it was just down the right field line. At first, you thought it was going to hook, but you had Mauricio doing the Yastrzemski, waving it fair, and it stayed true. It stayed fair, went over and out of the ballpark. And Mauricio got the home run he was waiting for. We learned after the game that he really wanted to hit one out there. He had seen Barry Bonds with those home runs into McCovey Cove when he was a kid, and he wanted to do that. And he got his wish, and it was a monster home run late to tie the game. A couple batters later, Juan Soto goes oppo for his 25th home run of the season to give the Mets a 4-3 lead. And that's what this lineup can do, right? When you're getting so much production from the bottom of the lineup, all of a sudden you put those guys at the top to come through and end up getting the winning blast because they were set up from the bottom of the lineup, keeping them in the game the whole way through. That's what a deep lineup looks like. And before that home run by Soto, the first four hitters in the Mets lineup went 0 for 16. They were all struggling. Then Soto homers, and then you had Brandon Nimmo cash in another Mauricio double in the ninth inning for insurance run with a double of his own. So eventually Nimmo came through, but just the bottom of this lineup was incredible in this game. Mauricio 4 for 4 again, 2 doubles and a homer. Francisco Alvarez 2 for 4, scored a couple of runs. Jeff McNeil doubled twice, and the Mets just couldn't do anything with it. Starling Marte hit his 6th straight multi-hit game. He continues to rake, and it was just a good offensive game for the Mets, and their bullpen did a good job backing up Kodai Senga. Senga, not at his best. The stuff still looked good at times. He pitched himself out of a couple of jams, but he walked 5, gave up 4 hits. Only runs came, though, on those 2 home runs by Matt Chapman. Otherwise, he was able to work his way out of some things. And then the bullpen combined for 4 scoreless. You had Jose Budo with a 1-2-3 6th. Gregory Soto made his Mets debut, a 1-2-3 7th inning. In the 8th inning, Reed Garrett gave up a leadoff single, then picked up a couple of strikeouts. Carlos Mendoza went to Brooks Raley. Raley had to face off against Wilmer Flores. Flores just hit a well-placed ground ball that the Mets just couldn't get to, and Flores got the rare infield hit. But then Raley got a line drive into center field, and Tyrone Taylor was able to make the catch, and that completed the 8th inning. The 9th inning was a little bit of an adventure for Edwin Diaz. He gets the first out, then he walks a pair of batters with a hit-by-pitch sandwiched in between, so he loads the bases with 1 out. But then he buckles down, strikes out Willie Adames, and then has to go up against the Giants MVP of the game, Matt Chapman, and he struck him out with a 99-mile-per-hour fastball up in the zone. Actually missed his spot, but when you throw a fastball with that much ride, good luck hitting it, and the Mets were able to pick up their 7th straight win, and Edwin Diaz got his 23rd save of the season.
Stay up to date all year on the New York Mets by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Mets on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, Tua Tagovailoa is too soft. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa has made his stance clear. He wants more than apology from Tyreek Hill after the way Hill acted toward the end of last season. Locked On NFL host Tony Wiggins believes Tua is being soft and is lashing out for no reason.
Now, mind you, I am not going to sit here and call that man soft because he gets concussions. I think him actually playing, knowing that those concussions are always lingering, is actually a source of bravery, in my opinion. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about inside, Chris. It seems like Tua is always whining about something in the media.
No, I feel you. It's It's been interesting, man. It's been interesting to see the Packers, and it's been interesting to see how this has played out. I would have thought, with all the Tyreek things, with him wanting to be traded, and that either this would have been resolved, or they would have found a way. There would have been like a, hey, let's get this together. Let's just put this behind us. Let's focus on this year, because guess what? You still got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua Tagovailoa, and you got Mike McDaniels. This is not a good sign for Mike McDaniels, in my opinion, because a big role of the head coach isn't just to call plays or come up with the schemes or adjust the thing. It's about managing people. And when you have a person that makes a comment like that, they either need to go or, there needs to be some sort of like, hey, we're gonna make this right. We're gonna do our best to put things together. Mike Tomlin's no stranger to people making noise, and the Steelers, we've seen it. Antonio Brown was the best receiver in football for 6 straight years, and he didn't play in the last game of the season. He was gone the next week, and then so went the career of Antonio Brown. George Pickens, he's gone. We've seen the Steelers, and if there's guys that are kept around, they're given like a, hey, this is what we need from you, so that comments from your quarterback aren't made like this. Because it'd be different if this was a 4th-string wide receiver. If this was like, or a guy ending his rookie contract who's a 4th-round pick, and it's just like, okay, but this is Tyreek Hill. This is one of the best receivers of the last 5-6 years in the NFL. You got to find a way to either move on from him or have this resolved, and clearly it's not resolved.
I see it the completely opposite of my guy Tony. It is the responsibility of the quarterback to set the tone. And if you are disrespectful, if you are flippant, if you are not bought in, it is the responsibility of the quarterback to get everyone on the same page, to help you buy in, and to hold you accountable for your actions. There is nothing soft about saying, you, person I care about, and I don't even know what Tua and Tyreek Hill's relationship is, but person I ostensibly care about, you did not act up to the standard that we have here, whether it's in a household, whether it's in a friendship, whatever it is. There is a responsibility in doing that. And saying, look, you have to do more than just show back up and say, I'm sorry. You have to prove it. Again, this is normal behavior. Imagine if a friend or a partner acted flippantly about wanting to be your friend or your partner, or made it seem to other people that maybe they wanted to do something else, go somewhere else, be with someone else. Could they just say sorry and make it all better? Now, those stakes are different, of course, but this is about trust. This is about responsibility. This is about what you owe the person to your right. Football is different than your office job or mine. You've got to go to war with these guys. And you've got to trust that they're going to be bought in every play, because they're putting their bodies on the line just like you. Is this going to work? I don't know. But Tua's not being soft. Tua's being a leader. My biggest concern is this is just not the way to get to Tyreek Hill, because I don't know if there is anything that can get to Tyreek Hill other than Tyreek Hill. And finally, Ichiro Suzuki made history in Cooperstown this weekend, becoming the first Japanese-born player inducted to the Baseball Hall of Fame and delivering a speech entirely in English. For the 3rd time, I'm a rookie, he joked, setting the tone for an incredible ceremony filled with humor and heart. The Seattle Mariners legend couldn't resist one final jab at the lone Hall voter who snubbed him. The offer to come over for dinner, he said, has officially expired. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, are the Falcons ready to make a push for the playoffs with Michael Penix Jr. at the helm? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.